So this past weekend I decided to do a couple rinseless washes on my mom's Saturn 2001 and my 2017 Subaru Forester. Both moderately dirty. We've had some rain, so there's some kind of dried on dirt. So in addition to a rinseless wash, I did a pre-spray, and I'll get into all the products that I've used. There are no cuts or edits here, except for just editing out when I would move the camera from one point to another. So this is no jump cuts, no edits, no speeded up film. This is just like it really happened. Again, because of the level of dirt, I wanted to pre-spray, provide as much safety as I could. So what I have there is a 32 ounce, I think they're at Walmart, the wide mouth sprayer, filled with Uber rinseless wash. That's a Wolfgang Uber rinseless wash. I mix it a little more than they recommend for waterless wash. I mix it about 4 ounces of concentrate per gallon of water. I think they recommend 3 ounces per gallon, but it's pretty cheap when you consider it's in a concentrate, so figured a little extra wouldn't hurt. So it was pretty sunny out, so I would sort of determine how much of a car to work on at one time based on how much sun was shining on that part of the car and if I felt like things were drying up. But I was able to do quite a bit at a time. I'm using here what's called the Gary Dean rinseless method. By that I mean I have these microfiber towels soaking in a bucket of ONR, and I will take one towel out of the bucket, wring it out pretty thoroughly, use all 8 sides of the towel as appropriate. So as one side of the towel gets a little bit dirty, flip to a clean side and continue, because you will be removing dirt. The towel will get dirty. But the Gary Dean method is, once that towel has been used up, all 8 sides, it goes into the dirty towel bucket, and it does not get returned to the rinseless solution, the optimum no rinse. So in that way we're sort of working clean, and that ideally we're using a fresh towel or at least a clean side of a towel all the time. And I kind of use a sort of a scooping back and forth method there on the hood. I like to think that I'm capturing the dirt in the towel and removing it instead of just moving it from, let's say, from one side of the hood to the other. The towels I'm using are Costco Kirkland. They're very affordable. I think you can get them at Amazon. I have a link in the description. I think they are, at the time of this video, they're $17.99, and I think that's for 36, so 50 cents a piece. When it comes to a rinseless wash, I do not favor using an ultra plush towel. I feel like the dirt can get trapped in those long fibers. I'd rather use a short nap towel that cleans up easier, that releases the dirt easier. And we'll get into more of that later on here. So I'm using those fiber towels with ONR after the Uber rinseless wash pre-spray. And to dry the car, I'm using Optimum Car Wax, the blue bottle there. And on this car I'm using a towel I've had for a long time, a Griot's Garage Waffle Weave Microfiber Drying Towel. And again, for drying, especially when using a rinseless method, I like these waffle weave towels because there's always a chance that we're still removing a little bit of dirt, even though we've cleaned with the ONR, and I could be picking up a little bit of dirt with those drying towels, and I want them to wash up clean in the laundry. So with the Optimum Car Wax, you spray onto a panel, put the towel down right where you sprayed, and kind of spread it out there. So you can consider the hood 2 panels. It's pretty big. And as far as I'm concerned, when doing a rinseless wash, you're not going for absolute perfection. But that being said, I do want to dry it thoroughly, because anywhere you leave the car wet, it's just going to get dirty. So very briefly, the reason I am doing the Gary Dean method with multiple towels instead of the big red sponge. Normally I would use the big red sponge on a mildly dirty car, let's say a car that simply has a little bit of a layer of dust on it. I completely think that the big red sponge is a great tool. I even though they say it's safe to dunk that dirty sponge back in the ONR, that the dirt will be released, I still just don't like it. So when a car even qualifies as, noticeably dirty, I'd much rather use multiple towels, dunked in the ONR, rinsed out, and then applied to the car. And the other upside is you're going to use a lot less ONR. Typically when I'm washing a car with the big red sponge, I can use close to a gallon of water. If I mix up 1 gallon with a cap full of ONR, I will usually use most of that. However, when using these towels, I throw a handful of towels in the bucket. One at a time I pull them out, wring them out. So you can imagine there's not a whole lot of ONR contained in that towel. I mean, it's nowhere near half a gallon, I'm sure. I think I washed both cars and I don't think I used half a gallon. To me, a rinseless wash is a little bit of a compromise. This is my own opinion. I don't think that the goal is to get the car immaculately clean, that it's not going to be as thorough as a, soapy water, running water kind of a solution. So that's the challenge there. I do want to get the car clean. I want it to look like I've cleaned it. But during the rinseless wash, I'm probably not going fanatical, cleaning the undercarriage, cleaning the wheel wells. I'd like to think I'm still going to give the wheels and tires a quick run over and opening the doors, cleaning the door jambs and kind of wiping them down. But at some point you have to cut it off and say, here's my goal. I'm trying to get the paintwork clean, trying to get this, rain residue and water spots off of the car, shine it up a little bit. Where do you stop? There has to be a stopping point. So I wouldn't feel that guilty, depending on the situation, if I skipped the wheels and tires, or if I didn't even open the doors and do the door jambs. I would still feel like, hey, this car is presentable now. This car looks clean when you walk out the front door and look at it in the morning. But I do, given the amount of time, or given enough time, I do like to clean the wheels and tires, which I did on these 2 cars here. So I'll move around to the right side here. And it's up to you as the person washing the car. It's your judgment call what technique to use, when to flip to a clean side of the towel. For example, on that fender up there, do I go all the way down to that black trim, which is going to be the dirtiest part of the car? Or do I proceed down the whole side of the car and leaving that bottom foot or foot and a half of dirty area right above that black trim for a final wipe down with a dirty towel? Because as I get down there, you see I pretty much want to flip that around and find a clean side. And be aware, if you've ever shot a video like this, you know what it's like. You may not be behaving on camera exactly the way you would. For example, I'm trying to give you a clear shot here of what I'm doing, so that's not really a very ergonomic way to wash a car. The way I'm standing there, it's kind of unnatural. In real life, I might pick that front door, clean the glass, clean the door, clean the bottom trim, flip the towel, do the back door, the glass, the door, the bottom trim. Or I might just do all the glass. I might do what I would call that middle section there, kind of where the gas cap and the door handles are from back to front. And then when that towel is good and dirty, I might come along and do the very bottom of the car. So it's all a judgment call. You need to use your own common sense. How dirty is the car? When you do that first swipe on the lower part of the car, look at the towel, see how dirty it is. You'll see me looking at the towel quite a bit. But err on the side of caution. If you're not sure how dirty an area is, check that towel more often. As it gets dirty, flip it. Towels are cheap. It's easy to flip to another side. Don't take a chance on scratching the car. So everything we do here is about safety. If I think the bottom of the car might still be dirty after doing a rinseless, maybe I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom with my dry towel, because that towel is being dragged over the entire car. If I feel good that I've cleaned it, And sure, I can go all the way to the bottom of the car, even wipe that trim dry. Anything you leave wet is just going to attract dirt. It looks like I'm moving fast, so I'm not sure how it took me 25 minutes to wash the car. So here we are at the back side of that. Here I'm in a little bit of sunlight on the right-hand fender and the back window, trunk area. That rinseless wash, I'm sorry, the waterless wash, the Wolfgang, doesn't dry all that quick. So if it does, it wipes up pretty easy. Just kind of play it by ear. If you're working in shade, you know, just whatever makes you most efficient in terms of spraying down the car as necessary and doing the wipe down. If this car were sort of mildly dirty, maybe I wouldn't need to pre-treat it with the pink solution, the Wolfgang. Maybe the towels would be good enough as long as I'm using lots of solution, flipping the towel frequently. So we have a lot of options when we use a rinseless wash. We're not just stuck with using one sponge to wash the whole car or a number of microfiber towels. We can also pre-treat and add a margin of safety there. So coming around the back of the car, if I remember right, I used about 3 to 4 towels per car. That doesn't seem like very many. Those Costco Kirkland towels that work pretty well. Doesn't seem like a lot of towels, but remember we fold it in half and fold it in half again. Gives us 8 sides per towel. So you're really using a lot of different surfaces there. You can flip to a lot of clean sides there. And the Optimum Car Wax really does make the car look good. Gives it a great kind of glow. It's a great drying aid. Makes it feel nice and slippery. So it's a product that I've just received in the last week or so and I'm very happy with. I'm anxious to see if it keeps the car clean during some rain we have coming up. There's really no way to keep the car clean when it's getting rained on, but will it clean up easier? Stay cleaner that way? Just being easier to maintain? By the way, it smells fantastic. I mean, it's got a smell you'd associate with a wax, but it's just a nice, sweet smell. I think I only used one drying towel for the whole car. It's kind of like give or take, it's about a 20 by 40 towel. So you see I'm making a dent in that bottle there. That's a 32-ounce bottle. Between this car and my Subaru, I didn't quite use the whole bottle. And again, when you mix that stuff up, I think it's way less than $1 a bottle. Sorry, maybe $2 a bottle if you count the distilled water that you're using. But that way you're able to wet the surface, soften up some of that dirt so that you have a better chance of reducing scratching of the car. All this downtime here is I think I went over for a clean towel and walked around the car so I wasn't in front of the camera. I'm not sure why I did that. But the more solution, the better the lubrication. I mean, it's safer the more you can use. The towel's going to have a little bit of ONR in it, and then whatever you spray on the surface of the car is going to help as well. I know I've driven this point home, but to me a rinseless wash is a compromise. It's meant to be quick and simple. I don't want to haul out a bunch of different cleaning brushes and towels and 20 different chemicals for cleaning. I'm not hauling along a tire cleaner and a wheel cleaner and an all-purpose cleaner to clean fender wells or trim or any other kind of dirt. Either I'm going to skip it and go to a bucket wash, or I'm just going to accept the limitations. In other words, I will be showing what I do with the wheels and tires in a moment here. But the whole idea of this is that I could haul along, which I did. I brought a bucket full of towels, 3 different kinds of towels, waterless wash towels, drying towels, and what I call wipe down towels, kind of dirty towels, cheaper towels. And then I brought the pink stuff, the Uber Rinseless Wash, the Optimum Car Wax Drying Aid, and that's it. I tend to overcomplicate things, so I just really didn't want to be stressed about having 8 chemicals and 5 kinds of towels and brushes and everything else, and having a anxiety that I'd forgotten something. So I want to be able to glance at that thing and say, okay, pre-spray, drying aid, a couple different kinds of towels, and you're good to go. I always tend to leave the front for the last because the towel's going to really get beat up. This time of year we've got dead bugs on the front of the car, and as I get closer and closer to the lower part of the front of the car, you're going to get some pretty dirty stuff coming off of there. So I don't even rotate that towel out very much. You're talking about a portion of the car that gets pretty beat up anyway. So again, there's kind of a plastic fins, kind of a grill down there, and I kind of went overboard trying to clean in between the fins. That's overkill. Again, don't spend 5 minutes doing that when you're trying to do a 15-minute car wash. But I couldn't help myself, there was some dirt down there. So again, for the 50th time, what do you expect out of your rinseless wash? Perfection, or you just want to shine the paint up because the customer or you or your family member, whatever, is probably not going to be standing on their head looking under the front of the car saying you missed a spot. So finally we're finishing up this car, at least the paint work. We're about 17 minutes in, drying off the front. So here is my procedure for wheels and tires. And I want to say briefly, I could skip them and not feel that guilty, but they needed cleaned up. So all I'm doing is spraying on the waterless wash, quickly wiping down, in this case, the hubcaps. Because this car is maintained regularly, the crud just wiped right off. In this car, I applied Meguiar's Endurance tire gel about a week ago, and it's holding up pretty good. These tires still look nice and black. They cleaned up really good. So just a quick wipe down of the wheel and good to go. Yeah, these are just hubcaps, but they clean up okay. Looks like that one's a little beat up there. But a quick spray, and I wipe out each of those little pockets there, and they look as good as they did. Again, you have to stop somewhere, but I thought cleaning the wheels was reasonable. And on this car, I did want to clean and dry out the door jambs. So that red towel I'm using there is a cheap Walmart. I think they're $10 a pack, really cheap. And I blocked my own view here, sorry about that. But opening the door, cleaning the top of that black plastic trim that goes along the bottom of the door. It just seems like one quick little thing I can do. And with both doors open, I can access the whole thing there. Clean that up, and then clean around the door. I just don't like to leave that wet. So here you'll see what I'm doing. Cleaning the trim. Then I generally will spray into the towel. Give the bottom of the door a quick wipe. Quick wipe along that door trim there. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's dry. I do that on both doors. So same thing for the front door. I did not at this time do any interior wipe down. I resisted the urge to wipe down the dash, the steering wheel, door panels, anything. I just left it. This is strictly what I would call a wash follow-up. Make sure the door jambs are clean and dry. And here we go to the driver's side. Same thing, kind of doing a quick wipe down of that trim, which that will get dirty. There's no seal there, so that you open up the door, you'll see a little bit of dirt there. This is my Wolfgang rinseless wash. I know I've said this before, but this stuff is so cheap that you don't have to be stingy with it. So, unlike something over the counter you might spend $12, $15 on for a little 16 or 24 ounce bottle at Walmart. Mixing this stuff up yourself saves so much money. Using 32 ounces of that if I had to is nothing. And here I got smart and moved the camera so you actually had a better angle. So here I'm cleaning the front area. Again, I can easily say, well, it only added 2 minutes or 5 minutes, but at some point you got to cut it off. I didn't mean to spend 25 minutes on a rinseless wash. I somehow thought it would be, 15 maybe, but I wasn't going at a breakneck pace, obviously. This is just a relaxed pace. Just hanging out on a warm, nice, sunny afternoon, washing the cars. I just spray into the towel and give it a quick wipe down. There might be a speck of dust left behind, but by and large it's good. So I kind of wiped across the seal of the top, close the doors, and the Saturn is done. Okay, now on to the Subaru, and we're about 21 minutes in. Same technique. This one's a little more of a challenge. It's got a taller roof, so I kind of walked around doing the whole top. And again, the technique here is partly for camera presentation and demonstration more than the fastest way to do this in real life. Maybe it wouldn't be to walk around the car twice. It would have been just be, why don't I just stand here, clean half the roof, half the windows, half the hood. You got to determine what works out for you. So partly for video purposes, I did it this way. Showing you that I'm cleaning the whole roof, under the roof rack. And I always like to get that out of the way because to me it is kind of a pain to be stretching over there, reaching over it to spray things. Much happier when that's done and I can get on to the rest of the car. So I know there are people who use rinseless washes as their primary method for washing their car. To me, it's still a maintenance wash. There are some tremendous advantages to it. During the wintertime, when you really don't want to be in the driveway with freezing water, or it's a beautiful day, but then all of a sudden it starts raining, storming, and you're thinking, okay, wouldn't it be great if I could wash my car in the garage? Or you get delayed, it's 9:30 at night, the sun is going down, you don't exactly have enough lights in your driveway. You can do what I'm doing right now in your garage. Even if you don't have a drain in the floor, you'll get a few drips on the floor, maybe even no drips on the floor using the towel method. I mean, I don't think you're going to see any drips on the driveway from me doing this. And even if you got a little bit, you could quickly mop that up, or do what I used to do, just get one of those squeegees, broom with a squeegee attachment, and quickly squeegee that out the garage door. But anyway, what I'm doing right here is not making any drips at all. But back to the maintenance part of it. This car has been foamed and bucket washed and cleaned very well, so there's not any bonded dirt that's hard to take off. The floor mats get cleaned, all the interior components, the door panels, everything gets cleaned very thoroughly. So the point is, regular rinseless washes become a viable option. If you have a car that hasn't been washed in 5 years, I would not consider rinseless as the way to attack it. But if you wash your car every week or maybe twice a week, the dirt just isn't going to get that bonded, which increases the safety or decreases the risks of doing a rinseless wash. So here I need a second drying towel that was getting a little bit wet. So now I've changed to my Cobra, it's called the Cobra Guzzler drying towel, the green with black trim. I like that and the Griot's. They're both kind of a substantial towel. They're not really flimsy or floppy. They're just right. If you haven't used a waffle drying towel before, see the link in the description. I really like them. I went the other route first. I was using 800, 1100 GSM, which is a really fluffy towel, and I realized that I didn't like that. Some people do. like a really plush, fluffy towel. Some people like a waffle weave. I've come full circle and I like the waffle weave. As you can see, I washed or I dried a car and a half with one towel. I can live with that. Some people claim, you know, they can dry 30 cars with one towel, whatever. I like these. They get wet, I wash them. I can do more than one car with one towel. That's good enough for me. I have some other towels from the rag company called Dry Me a River. Very good quality, very soft. They're a little thinner. That doesn't make them not as good of a towel. They're just different. They're more moldable. They're just thinner and finer. When you pick up a Cobra Guzzler, you feel like there's some heft or some substance to it. Same with the Griot's towel. It's kind of up to you what you like. I can make any of them work. Of course, any of them are going to dry the car. But when you fold them and want them to hold their shape, see how I'm kind of moving it around the car? They're going to feel just a little bit different. The Griot's towel and the Cobra Guzzler that you see here feel a little bit different than the Dry Me a River towels. You may just like the different colors because I've got yellow ones, I've got green ones. The Dry Me a River you can get in royal blue or light blue. So you may reserve some for dirty areas or door jambs or the lower parts of the car based on the color. For that reason, I prefer a light colored towel. If you're doing a really thorough soap wash, chances are your drying towel is not going to pick up any dirt. However, doing a rinseless wash like we are here, it's feasible that even with good technique, some of the dirt is staying behind on that hood or on that fender to be picked up by my drying towel. And if so, I want to see it because I'll flip that towel or get a different towel if I need to. So I don't want a dark blue towel or a black towel for drying. To me, that just makes no sense. I can't imagine why I would want a black towel for anything. And the other advantage is when you launder the towel, let's say the towel I'm using right there, the Cobra Guzzler, if it did get stained or dirty, when it comes out of the wash, I will know that. Or I can put it through again, soak it, treat it. But either way, I'm going to know that it got stained, or if it went in dirty, I know that it got clean. So for that reason, I favor a lighter colored drying towel, absolutely. And for the exact same reason, I like my yellow rinseless wash towels. I would not want a dark green or dark blue. I want to know when they're dirty so I can flip it. And also at the end of the day, when I wash them in the laundry, I want to know that they're coming out clean or that I need to soak them. And the level of dirt you see on them is going to determine how you launder them. I actually did soak those towels and a lot of dirt came out before they went in the laundry. That made me feel a little bit better. These aren't expensive towels, but I like to reuse them and I want them to come out looking clean. There I am being generous with the Wolfgang Rinseless Wash. Again, the product is called Uber Rinseless Wash because Wolfgang being a German name brand, they call the product Uber Rinseless Wash. However, I primarily use it as a waterless wash or quick detail spray, etc. What I have in my bucket, which you're not seeing much of, that I dunk my yellow towels in for rinseless washing, is Optimum No Rinse. The blue stuff. I just like to mix it up a little bit. I think I like the Wolfgang Uber because of the dilution ratio. I think when you use ONR, sometimes you have to mix it quite a bit stronger as a pre-treatment or as a spray. I just have always liked the way the Uber Rinseless Wash works. See how much dirt is coming off of there. Got to be careful. I'm going to examine that towel every swipe, turn to a clean side. You just got to have common sense and be careful. They tell us that the polymers prevent scratching, that they provide some safety net there. Here I wanted to clean up that lip around the fender well and somewhat carefully clean that edge, and then that's pretty dirty. Back to the spray wax, dry it off. And it takes so little, it gets the towel very little wet when you do that. So you see I don't really have to flip the drying towel very much. So even though I've got it folded about 3 or 4 times, it's not really that big a deal. Once in a while I'll flip it over to a dry side if I feel that the spray wax isn't being picked up well enough. But again, the Optimum Car Wax is a great product. I just bought it for the first time a week or two before this, and I will definitely be buying a gallon when it goes empty. Again, I mentioned this before, but I'm trying to demonstrate a technique here. You don't have to take it literally that whether I wash the fender and then the front window and then the front door. Some of this is just to make it easier to film or to proceed in a logical direction. When I'm alone in the garage and don't have a camera rolling, I might just do all the windows, and then I might run back to front on the middle, avoiding the very bottom, the very dirtiest part, and then I might come back and do that. So it's really whatever makes sense to you. As you move around the car, do you want to do the whole hood, or do you want to do half the hood? Do you want to do the left-hand side of the car, go around the back, and then do the right-hand side of the car? Or how do you want to divide the car up? And it's possible to overthink it, but just have a mental picture in your head so that you don't get done and then say, wait, I don't think I cleaned the bottom of the whole left-hand side, or I missed the entire back door. And of course, if the car is sufficiently dirty, you're going to know that you missed it. You're going to notice a definite improvement when you're done. And you see I wasted a little bit of time walking back and forth. At times I have the products, the bottles kind of hooked on my pockets there, so they're near to me. When the car is dirty versus when the car is clean, you can put things down on the hood or put things down on the roof. You see that I had put down the drying towel and the car wax at one point on the windshield. I don't want to do that when the car is dirty, so I might put it over to the side. Well, how you carry those things around can actually save a lot of time. If you can have your wet towel, your drying towel, and both spray products, you see all I'm doing is putting those down, going back to get my other thing. If I could have a cart, or if those buckets could be on a dolly, I could potentially save some time. Something to think about, because you're going to be doing a lot of back and forth, putting things down. See here, I'm confused. Oh, what do I need to do? Clean my wheels. So I think I mentioned I use what I affectionately call cheap microfiber towels for this. Things that are never going to touch paint other than perhaps door jambs when they're clean. So I spray the wheel and tire. You notice my tires don't look quite as nice as the Saturn. I use VRP, which doesn't last very long. So I'm kind of reconsidering that. The Saturn has the Meguiar's Endurance tire gel, which actually stayed pretty black after a week. These, you can see there, they clean up pretty decent. So I sprayed the wheel and tire, wiped the tire down, removed all the road dirt. And I still wouldn't call that impressive, though. They look fairly clean, but they don't have a nice black sheen to them. So there again, do you want to juggle the wipe down or the dirty towel as well, and do that as you go around the car, or as I'm doing here, you want to do a separate step. Let's say you do the whole right side of the car, and then you go back and do the wheels and tires. You need to determine whether that's an effective, efficient way of maneuvering, or if you've got a better way to do that. You can only juggle so many products at one time. Finally, here we are at the back hatch area. On these Subarus, I've noticed that area gets really dirty from maybe just the air currents as you drive. But you could have a clean hood and clean roof, and the top half of the car be clean. You walk around the back, and the rear is kind of filthy. So it seems to just attract dirt. I don't know if you can tell, but the little step pad there, sort of the protector for when you're loading things in the back, that thing's gotten really faded. And I'm not sure if it's because of some of the products I've used, but I've kind of taken note of that, and as of the time this video is being made, my solution finish arrived in the mail today. So I'm going to consider that a test bed for that product as a trim restorer. I might try a few other things first, such as a spray-on aerosol trim spray, the kind of stuff that you'd use for under the hood or for external trim. But what I can say is the VRP, the Chemical Guys VRP, which I normally would use on trim, has not had much of an impact on that. It does not give it a nice, even, rich black that it had when it was new. It just looks kind of splotchy and gray. I don't know how well that's showing up in the video, but it really does not look very good. Whereas the trim below it, the very bottom trim, looks nice and black, but that little bumper, that ridged thing, looks terrible. So there's the back of the car with my little bin full of towels. Again, I've tried really hard to simplify the equipment that I haul when I do a rinseless wash. The little cardboard box does have my tire applicator and my VRP. I don't think I even used it. I just had it as kind of a backup. While I cleaned the wheels and tires, I didn't dress them. I didn't add any vinyl dressing to them. Kind of wanted to clean that edge there. So with the hatch open, I did a little bit of cleaning there. The one advantage to a rinseless is, depending on your technique, whether you're using the Big Red Sponge or a series of microfiber towels, you may or may not have all those drips to clean up. What I mean is water dripping out of rear view mirrors, or all those weird spaces on your car that seem to drip water after you dried your car. You probably won't have many of those. That being said, don't assume you won't have any. If you kind of soak an area, you're going to get, water trickling just like it would if you were washing it with a hose, but it's probably nowhere near as bad. Because normally under that hatch there's just water galore when I use a hose to rinse the car off. I always open it up and have a lot of water to dry off. Just one more advantage of a rinseless wash is that the cleanup is easier. Little spot of dirt I missed there. That little ridge there, you really have to kind of jam the towel or the mitt in there to get it clean. So, to say it one more time, a rinseless wash, how thorough are you? You obviously don't want to leave big spots of dirt around, but how much time are you spending getting, whoops, there's another little speck of dirt. Let me clean under there a little further. You need to determine what's enough. Seems like it's taking me a long time to wash this car. So I moved my buckets around and we're on the left-hand side, cleaning the wheels and tires. So I can modify my technique a little bit here. Sprayed the wheel well in there, and the fender and everything else. I have to admit, the first few times you do a rinseless wash, it's kind of weird. Either you're thinking it's not going to get clean, or you're going to scratch your car, or some terrible thing is going to happen. What you really need to get comfortable with is the idea that you can clean a car properly without having suds and foam. That's really what it is. If you really think about it, as weird as it might be to wash a car this way, really the only difference is, instead of having a bunch of sudsy, foamy water out of a bucket, we're pulling our wash towel out and it's using some slippery water filled with polymers. I know polymer is a meaningless word. It's like The word itself doesn't mean much. But the slippery water with the right kind of chemicals and ingredients is safe, even though there's no soap in suds. So that's kind of the big adjustment. We're used to suds being kind of an indicator of cleaning ability, and ONR kind of teaches us that that's not true. As I said, it seemed to take a long time to wash these cars, but I feel like I'm kind of going at a leisurely pace too. I'm not on the clock here. This is kind of like washing the family cars. To me, this is enjoyable. This is a relaxing afternoon. I did not set a stopwatch and say, okay, can I get around this car in 10 minutes? Because of course I could. You absolutely could do what I'm doing a lot faster. So in the home stretch, front door, front fender. And as I said before, adjust the area that you're spraying down and cleaning by how much sunshine you've got. If it's ultra hot, if you're in Arizona, you probably have to do it differently. I've seen professional detailers who do a rinseless wash, and they are washing a tiny little section of a panel and immediately drying it off. So they're not able to do like I am here and wash half the side of the car and then dry it. See where I'm wiping right there? They would wipe that window or that door. Let's say right about there. Finally, okay, the window, and boom, get the drying towel and dry that window off, because it is so hot and so dry that it would just be drying on there. You'd have to come back and clean the water spots off. And then they would do maybe half that door and dry it off. And much of this technique is all common sense. Wherever you wiped with your cleaning towel, your washing towel, when I come along with my drying towel, I'm going to go not quite as far, if that makes sense. I don't want my drying towel to venture into a dirty panel. So let's say the door was your current panel. I would make sure I washed beyond the gap in the body there. And then when it came along to dry, I would make sure I didn't go past that gap there. So just common sense. Make sure you wash far enough and that your drying towel doesn't get dirty. That kind of defeats the purpose if you're trying to use a towel to clean up dirt. And you see I'm hauling around my wax with me. If I had a little cart, you might think that's silly for such a small job as this, but it really can speed you up. Every time you have to walk back to the back of the car, or the front of the car, say, where did I put my current washing towel down? See, it's not on me. Of course, it's wet, so I'm probably not going to stuff it in my pocket. But all those decisions take time. If you record yourself washing a car sometime, even a traditional method, you will probably find that you're doing a lot of walking around. There's a lot of downtime. Maybe even 50% is walking over to retrieve the next tool that you need. There's always going to be some of that, but any improvement we can make saves a ton of time. Okay, finally coming around to the front. Like with the other car, I tend to finish up with the front of the car. I apologize for the poor camera angle, but you see the Subaru Forester has all these little openings in that front grille there. So, in the interest of doing a quick rinseless wash, do I wash all the dirt out of every single one of those? Sometimes I can't resist, but every one of those had a little bit of dirt settled in it. Do I ignore it? Do I bring along some aerosol trim spray like some Stoner or some kind of trim detailer and just spray and cover up the dirt. Again, it's all your personal choice there of what is your goal for the rinseless wash. And believe me, I sympathize. If you're spending 20 or 25 minutes making the paint all nice and shiny, as this one looks pretty good here, and then to say, well, that trim is dirty, or below the trunk you can see a bunch of dirt spots. I get it. It's bang for the buck, and it's what are your goals? How much time do you want to spend? It's like the 80-20 rule. Do you want to spend 80% of your time on cleaning specks of dirt out of the grill and laying on the ground cleaning under the front of the car where nobody can see? So again, I apologize for the bad camera angle. I thought I had picked up the whole car there in the camera. So without dressing the tires, they look decent. The car looks pretty good. At this time, I did not clean the interior, and as you notice, I did not clean the door jambs. I did not open the doors and clean all that up. Let me go back quickly, clean the wheels and tires. And that rag, that towel you're seeing there will get dirty. The tires are always either shedding little bits of rubber or getting material residue from the braking. They're going to get a little bit of soot and filth on them. These are nothing special. I'm not fanatical about using a different side of that towel for the next wheel. I'm just cleaning the fronts of the face of the wheel. I'm not being really thorough about cleaning around the lug nuts. I can see there's dirt there. And I had to chuckle. My mom even noticed, hey, what about you cleaned the wheels and the tires, but you didn't clean the fender well. You can see the dirt right there. And I had to laugh because she was right. Again, you got to cut it off somewhere. Here's just some after shots of those two cars looking pretty decent. Again, they started off looking pretty grungy because it's kind of the rainy season here. But because they've been thoroughly cleaned and they've got a coat of wax on them, they clean up really well. It's really not an effort at all. If these were some customers' cars that I hadn't seen before, that hadn't been cleaned in 4 years, I would not be comfortable doing a rinseless wash like this. But a well-maintained car is a perfect candidate for that.